The big challenge with any backline weapon is how do I be safe but also have an impact? And so part of that is going to be knowing your range and going out onto the maps and looking at where can I stand on this map that is going to be a good backline position. So I'm going to go and check out Recon Mode real quick. Whee! This is not the weapon that I wanted to do this with, but we'll pretend. So a good backline position gives you high ground, because high ground lets you see over cover. So for example, if I'm down here, and I'm right in front of this block, I can't hit super reliably over the top of it. Yes, I can aim up and have the shots fall down, but those do half damage, so that's not ideal. So a short-range shooter would love to be on the other side of this block from me, because they can just really quickly get over to the side here and start attacking me. They are not in my range until they can shoot me themselves. So cover is a short-range shooter's best friend, or a short-range weapon's best friend. They need cover to keep themselves safe until they can get close enough to hit you. And that's how they win fights with you. So you want to deny them cover whenever you possibly can, and one of the ways to get that is height. If you are up above the cover, from here, I can just shoot down over the top of it and just, like, hit a player who's standing on the other side of that block cleanly. So that's the advantage that high ground gives you. That's the power that high ground has. It also extends your range by a tiny bit. So if I'm standing at ground level, I'll shoot a certain distance. But if I'm standing up above, shots will go a little bit further. It can make the difference when you're fighting the same kind of weapon that you're using. So those are two big advantages for long-range weapons. Now, of course, being up top right here isn't a great position because you're very exposed. Everybody can see you, you don't have a lot of cover. So what a splatling player might do is hide behind this pole, because they can charge behind the pole and then take one step out past the pole to be able to shoot. And you can also see, one of the mechanics in this game is right side peek advantage. You hold your weapons on the right side of your body. So if you're peeking around the right side of something, you are able to hit around that cover, and some of your body is still behind the cover. Whereas if you peek around the left-hand side, in order to get the shots around, you need to fully expose yourself around that cover. It's a little bit less pronounced in Splatoon 3 than it was in Splatoon 2, but is still a mechanic. And that's something that especially backliners can take big advantage of, because they are able to stand way back here behind the cover and still have range to hit anything. So anytime you see little pieces of cover like this, right here on like the edge of some high ground, these are designed for you. You stand here, you charge, and then you peek out from around the side. And that's what a backliner is going to be doing. One thing that I neglected to talk about in the video that I think is important here is the way that you can use a ledge itself for cover. So let's say you are the backliner and you're up here. And then you are fighting against an opponent who is down here. Now, right now, assuming you two have line of sight weapons and you have the range to hit each other, you can each hit each other from here. Now, the advantage that you have, of course, is that you have more range, so you're more likely to be able to hit this person than they're likely to be able to hit you, especially since you have the range advantage of being up high. But if this player is threatening to you, what you can do is you can just walk backwards. And you walk backwards up until the point that their sight line on you hits the ledge before it can get to you. And now you are safe behind cover, basically, just because you took a couple steps backwards. Now, if they want to cut your sight line in the same way, if they walk forward this much, you can still see them. If they walk forward this much, you can probably still see them. They have to move so much further than you have to move because of the angle that you have with the top of the ledge here. And therefore, you have more of an advantage being on top of this cover than they have being below it here. The one exception to this rule is if you aren't dealing with a weapon that has straight line of sight. So if you're fighting against a blaster player, let's say, they can be right down here and fire a shot straight up, but that shot is going to balloon up over the top. And so you have to be worried about that. If you've got a slosher player, their shot is going to go up and fall on you like this. And so those weapons in particular, something like your Luna Blasters, your Rollers, your Sloshers, those kinds of things sitting underneath this ledge right here are a danger to you, and so you have to watch out if there happens to be one of those in particular on the map, because they take away this particular advantage of high ground from you. As time goes on and you get more used to how the maps play, you will start to figure out some positions that are really strong for backline weapons to stand in. There is a resource that I will now put in the chat on backline positioning for Splatoon 2 maps. This is something that Devi has put together. Devi is a competitive Hydra player, and she made this to teach new backline players where she likes to position on her weapon. So while those are all Splatoon 2 maps, it should give you something of an idea of how you want to position with a backline weapon in Splatoon 3 as you start thinking, okay, why is this position advantageous as opposed to this one? And kind of drawing the right conclusions from there.